So guess what? It turns out Seth Trimble's going to show out even with RJ Davis back in the lineup. This is great news.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Monday, October 28th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Carolina content every single day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to say a special thank you to the everydayers who are joining us, as well as the Locked On Tar Heels insiders, and of course our Locked On Tar Heels Discord community as well. Thanks so much, everyone, for making this your first listen or watch. Let's get right into it. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hey, I need to remind you that 1 week from today, the basketball games are real. Monday, November 4th. Buckle up. It'll be here before you know it. But today on the show, look, it's a big blowout win for the Tar Heels. And so the question is always, what can we legitimately take away from this thing? I'm going to give you a couple of my big takeaways from it. I also want to share with you what I think is going to be one of the consistent necessity winning formulas for Carolina this season. And a double-double for Ven-Allen Lubin. Don't think any of us saw that one coming today. Couple football takeaways for us. Some kind words to Virginia for their thoughtfulness. And, of course, our weekend whip around. Going to be a great show. Let's dive right into it. So here's the deal with a game of this nature where Carolina wins 127-63. It's easy to get into overreacting to things that you assume are going to be season-long true against a lesser opponent. And we just can't always do that. We have to be wise with what we do take away and wise with what we say, I don't know about that one. And so it's easy to be guilty of those overreactions in an exhibition setting. And honestly, sometimes it's fun to lean into that and just own it. But I do want to share some things today that I think are legit takeaways regardless of opponent or regardless of the setting of what happened on Sunday. So I've got 4 of them right now for you. Number 1, Seth Trimble is going to do it even with RJ in the lineup. And here's what I mean. In the blue-white scrimmage, RJ Davis and Seth Trimble are on opposite teams. RJ Davis goes down early in the second half with that, kind of injury. And Seth ends up being the leading scorer for anybody on either team in that game. At Memphis, obviously, RJ doesn't play. Seth scores 33 points. So the question coming into this game was, assuming that RJ suits up and plays, does Seth take more of a back seat, or does he continue to shine out ahead of or alongside of perhaps RJ Davis? And the truth of the matter is that he's shown alongside of RJ Davis. And honestly, that's the best thing for Carolina, is to have a broad offensive scoring base. And that was the truth in this game on Sunday, in which 7 different Tar Heels finished in double digits. Now, that is a thing that would be an overreaction to assume that level of point spread is going to happen all the time, although I do think it's going to be better. But I want to hone in on Seth matching RJ. There are going to be games when RJ is going to be RJ Davis and he's going to show out and have all the points. But I legitimately would not be shocked if there are games this season where Seth Trimble's the leading scorer and RJ Davis played in that game. Based on what we've now seen in 3 preseason moments, that's legit. On Sunday, Seth finishes with 15 points on 6 of 7 shooting, 0 of 1 from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and how about this critical thing, 2 assists and 0 turnovers. That's a great line. And if Seth can do that day in and day out for this team, great. And that happened in just 19 minutes. He's going to play more than that. I think closer to 25 than 20. And what I also love, and I think part of what makes that connection work, is that the bond between those 2 young men, between Seth Trimble and RJ Davis, is so clear and evident and obvious. And that shows on the court the relationship they have off of it. And you don't get that if you're just full of all newcomers all the time. This is a byproduct of guys who have spent now multiple years playing basketball together. That's great news. Number 2 takeaway that I think is legit and season long, not just a one-off exhibition overreaction. I loved that Hubert Davis had the guts enough to start all 3 of Elliot Cadeau, RJ Davis, and Seth Trimble. Coming out of the Memphis game, the big talking point for all of us, I'm not saying like, oh, the big talking point for everybody. No, myself included, was I don't know how you now don't start Seth Trimble, but you're not benching Elliot. You're not benching the reigning ACC player of the year. So what do? I think you got to put him at the 3. And I was very curious to see if Hubert Davis would do that. And he did. There's no telling if he'll do it again next Monday against Elon, or heck, next Friday night in Lawrence, Kansas. But this is me saying that I believe that Hubert Davis believes that he can legitimately roll that 3-guard lineup out as a legitimate option. And that said, I think that he will next Monday. I think you will see all 3 of those guys out there in the starting lineup. And I think this was his opportunity to see how it played against a different opponent. And what does that allow? Well, if you don't, for example, have Ian Jackson in the starting lineup, that allows him as a freshman to watch, get the lay of the land, and then bring in the firepower that he brings after he's kind of taken, stock of how the game is going and things like that. So what this allows you to do is let Elliot, RJ, and Seth just come out of the gate with their hair on fire, and they've got an opportunity to just run, like overwhelm another team with their pace and tenacity early. They got to be ready and dialed in to do it, and I believe that they can. Now, along with those 3, we had Cade, Tyson, and Jalen Washington in the starting lineup. And at this point in the season, I think that is the 5-some that makes most sense to me. Obviously, that is not the 5-some I had talked about, the quintet I had talked about the majority of this offseason. I'm not going to ever pretend like I had Seth Trimble in the starting lineup. But now that I've seen it, you got it. And Hubert Davis needs to. Now, we'll talk about Ven-Allen Lubin in a bit, but I would also like to see that lineup of the 3 guards and Cade, Tyson with Lubin at the 5. I would just be curious to see, maybe that is a starting lineup at some point. In fact, Lubin was the first person off the bench in this game. That's notable. That's not nothing. So there's that. Third thing I thought was a legit takeaway from this game. This was a great opportunity for the newbies, and I mean that both freshmen and transfers, to settle in and get a home opportunity against another opponent before the games are real. In the blue-white scrimmage, it's you against you. It's Tar Heel against Tar Heel. In the Memphis game, it was a true road environment at Memphis. And a lot of those guys just looked a little bit out of sorts. And so I loved this opportunity in an exhibition setting for Ian Jackson, Drake Powell, James Brown, Ven-Allen Lubin, and Cade Tyson to each get their bearings a little bit. And I know, Ty Claude didn't get to play. That's unfortunate and ongoing. We'll look more into that on Tuesday's show. But I said this on our live reaction show yesterday on Sunday. The freshmen looked a little bit less like freshmen. And that's what you just want to see every time they step on the court, just taking steps towards being sophomores. Yeah, every now and again, they'll take a step back. Sure, we'll see that happen. But if they can, for the most part, be progressing towards what you need to see with them, that's perfect. And that's what it needs to be. Cade settled in. He was perfect from 3-point range, 2 of 2. And that's what Carolina needs him to do. Hit those shots, knock them down. And he hadn't. In the first 2, he had made 1 3. That was at Memphis. This was his first time making multiple threes. And again, I think the opportunity for him to just settle in at home is good. Obviously, we were all wowed by Ian Jackson's performance on Sunday, and we should have been. And we'll say more about that here in just a second. But just the varied things that Drake Powell does are just wild to me. Finishes this game 8 points, 4 of 8 from the field, all 2s. that he missed a couple threes, 9 boards, 2 blocks, and a steal. And let's not forget that one block at the end of the game, 2-hand pin on the backboard, catches it, and just comes down with it. And outlet pass that winds up in a dunk on the other end. But also, here's the other very impactful thing to me about what Drake Powell did. 4 assists, 0 turnovers. Well done, sir. More of that. But then, yes, Ian Jackson. Let's not bury this lead any longer. 21 points, which, to be fair, some of that is a function of neither RJ Davis or Seth Trimble playing, hitting 20 minutes. They were both under 20 in this game. But Ian, 6 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, and 8 of 10 from the free throw line. I think that was the thing. Yes, the dunks stand out, and that's the highlight. But the thing I was most glad for in this game was Ian Jackson taking 10 free throws. Dude, just keep doing that. And you are going to put Carolina in a great position. That athleticism is next level, as it is with so many people on this team. It's just going to be a ton of fun to watch, and I can't wait to continue doing it. Final thing I'll mention that I think is real at some level, and you'll understand. Carolina scores 127 points in this game, and that's a lot, and they're not going to do that. But regardless of opponent, scoring 127 points is ridiculous. And Carolina did that even with only scoring like 21 points in the first 10 minutes of this game. In fact, they led 21-20 at the 9:30 mark of the first half. But then for the final 29-30, they outscored Johnson C. Smith 106-43. And I say all this to say, I think what is and can be real is Carolina's pace. Yes, they're not going to score 127 points, but they can be disruptive in passing lanes. They can make steals. They can get out and run, pull the made basket out and boom, get out and go, get a rebound. Drake Powell can take off with it. Like, this team is going to have the ability to get out and run, and they've just got to keep doing it. They've got to be persistent and unrelenting in that endeavor, which actually leads me into what we want to go into in segment 2. The Tar Heels are going to have to use what is special to them to make this season special. And they showed some of that on Sunday, and I want to talk about it in just a second. Right after I tell you about our friends at FanDuel, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers, you can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more right there on that same page where you place your bets. How about ACC regular season odds? FanDuel still has Duke #1 at plus 135. UNC's next at plus 360, and then it's all the way down to the thousands. Wake Forest is third at plus 1,000. Clemson, 1,100. Louisville, plus 1,500. And Miami rounds out the top 6 at plus 1,700. So if you want to get in on that action, go visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We just talked about Carolina utilizing space well. In fact, I should look back at the box score to see fast break points. Carolina had 34 fast break points in this game. Sheesh. 10 dunks, had 20 layups out of their 45 field goals. I mean, it's just, that's what they've got to do. But perhaps what I love the most is that Carolina was in what I'll just call attack mode, essentially all game long, at least from when they realized, oh, we're in a little bit of a game here. Let's attack. They spread you out and they attack the rim. They use ball screens and they attack. Or, that pick and roll game with Elliot Cadeau and Jalen Washington had a couple times, including right before halftime. Great stuff. So spread out and attack, ball screen and attack, dribble, handoff and attack. Carolina is going to be able to do this season so well. And one of the places I identified it most in this game was at the free throw line. The Tar Heels took 37 free throw attempts. That in itself is incredible. I want them to do that all season long. it's a staple of Carolina program historically. Make more free throws than your opponents attempt. But also, we saw this at a high level last year. Carolina got to the free throw line a lot, and they converted while they were there. This is an indication that they're going to continue to do that again this year. And I'm hopeful even more so, like doing it in a different way. It's not just getting the ball into Armando and him getting fouled, for example. Carolina is going to be able to just get to the rim and get fouled and then go make those free throws. What I loved is seeing a multitude of guys getting in there and doing it and finishing strong. Excuse me. They weren't always able to get it through the basket for an and one, but were able to get it up on the rim at least. And then beyond just getting there, critically important also is that for the vast majority of the game, they made them once they got there. 37 free throw attempts, made 30 of them, connected on 30 free throws in this game. That was good for 81.1%. I mean, you will take that every single day of the week from these Tar Heels. RJ Davis, 6 of 6. Cade Tyson, 4 for 4. Seth Trimble, 3 for 3. Elliot Cadeau, 1 for 2. Jay Wash, 2 of 2. James Brown, 1 of 1. Russell Hawkins, a walk-on, 2 of 2. A whole slew of other guys, 1 of 2. And I already mentioned Ian Jackson going 8 for 10. Good grief, son. Like all day long, give me that action from the Tar Heels. And then here's the other good thing that happens, though. When you attack, what happens? Well, either you put the defense in a crisis. They have to make a decision because Carolina's finishing so much or they're getting fouled and making their free throws. I might need to help off. And then what does Carolina do when they draw those defenders? Boom, kick out, and then you got to make your threes. That's going to be critical this season. But also, if they don't come help, you either make a bucket or get fouled and just go right back to the free throw line. That is how Carolina is going to need to win. They've got to be in attack mode all the time. And the Tar Heels might not have a typical inside presence. We've talked about that so much. But through attack mode, that's how Carolina is going to win the points in the paint battle regularly this season. And they really can do so as they did in a blowout sort of fashion on Sunday. But yet, here's what I loved. In the same vein that I'm saying attack, 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 what I loved that the Tar Heels did on Sunday was they attacked under control. 21 turnovers in the Memphis game a couple weeks ago. In this one, just 3 turnovers in the first half, and then 5 total for the regular rotation guys. There were 7 total, but 2 of them were walk-ons. So by the time the regulars checked out, they'd only committed 5 turnovers. Now, some of that is probably opponent-based. But still, only 5 turnovers from those guys. And here's what's cool. Of the guys that started at positions 1 through 4, Elliot Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, and Cade Tyson, 0 turnovers for that quartet. 2 of the 3 freshmen, no turnovers. And that was Drake Powell and James Brown. Ian had 3 turnovers. No turnovers for Jalen Withers. He's one of the keys that has to bring his turnovers down. And so great stuff for the Tar Heels, attacking, but doing so under control. And oh, by the way, Elliot Cadeau, 8 assists, 0 turnovers. You're going to take that all day long. Something else I loved is, I think myself and a lot of people have been critical of Ven-Allen Lubin, or not necessarily himself, but Carolina's decision to take him this offseason. In fact, Doug Higgins said in the YouTube comments, Ven-Allen Lubin, I've been trying to tell you guys since day one, he's going to be our diamond in the rough. Rebounder, Rodman. I see it. He's got that dog in him, end quote. And Doug, man, there's at least some very real level in which you're right. And just like I had said earlier about Seth, I sure hope that I have been dead wrong about Ven-Allen Lubin and that he just plays a perfect role for this team. But here's the thing. With a player of his skill set, it's hard to see the value of it until you get into real, organized regular season games or non-pickup style games, I should say. because his skill set doesn't often pop in a major way, like in a pickup setting. It's in the organized moments and the counting moments where you realize, like, oh, this dude's making a major impact. And it's also a similar situation to Jalen Withers last year, where it's like, how quickly can you learn your role, accept your role, and excel at it? Those are three big steps that Ven-Allen Lubin needs to take. And so his ability to do all three of those quickly, learn, accept, and excel at his role, is going to determine his playing time and ultimately Carolina's success. And in this game, he had such quiet double-double. 18 points on 8 of 10 shooting, 1 of 1 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 12 boards, 4 of which were offensive, a block, 2 steals, and just 1 turnover. And I'm not saying that Ven-Allen Lubin needs to or is going to get a double-double every night. But if he can provide just consistent, like that stat line, that is absolutely what Carolina needs to be able to do in an ongoing way. And part of it is him just, when you've got this many guards, you just tell Ven, like, bro, just go clean up. Offensive rebound, put back. Offensive rebound, kick out. Defensive rebound, start the, get that outlet pass. Let's start the break and go. And he's got the ability to do this. So again, Doug, thank you for saying that. And I do hope I was wrong on him. And I hope that season long you can keep thumping your chest and saying I was right. Also, Doug, saw your comment just about me talking about my faith on the show, and just wanted to say thanks for your encouragement there as well. My favorite thing, though, as I saw Doug's comment that I read in the YouTube comments from our live reaction show, was this. Melinda Dolphin asked, does Bojangles honor the 100-point special if it's in an exhibition game? The answer, of course, is no. But it's the way that Halfway Decent responded that made me so happy. Halfway Decent 6842 said, no, but they do guarantee the person making your bow rounds is wearing a hairnet. Yes, I'm here for that. More hilarity in the comments always, please. Thank you for that. Just priceless stuff. All right, we want to get to the football field where Carolina's defense, they turned over a new leaf on Saturday. Is that the new norm, or was it just a one-off coming off an open week? We'll try to unpack that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Game Time, I said it earlier, we're just 1 week away from the start of the season. It's going to be great. There's nothing better than the atmosphere of a college basketball arena when there's anticipation of what's going to happen, the unknown of what might occur at any given moment. You're waiting for that Ian Jackson windmill, and you just go ham. Like, it's crazy. And that's why you want to get ready for your tickets for this upcoming season. Well, thankfully, there's a ticketing app called Game Time that helps you get great tickets at a great price, and not even just for sports. Honestly, Game Time has tickets for all events. And great news, when you're getting tickets for this year, Game Time has a new feature that's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through everything else. So whether it's Game Time ticket coverage, the lowest price guarantee, or the panoramic views from your seat in the app, Game Time has got you covered. I went in and looked at some tickets for the Elon game next Monday. You can get in the door for $12, man. That's up in the 200s, the upper concourse on the baseline. But if you want a better view, there's a couple for under 50 in the lower bowl corners. You can spend even more to get closer to the action. Or sideline up in the 200s, in the mid 30s, man. That's a great vantage point for this game. Go check it out. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download their app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first order. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. We covered the football game in our live reaction podcast on Saturday, so make sure you check that out if you want to go a little bit more in depth on the football game. But I do have some things that I want to discuss about it. I was so proud of the Tar Heel defense in this game. They started off the season well, but it has been a struggle lately. But man, coming off of that open week, coming off of all the emotion they've been dealing with, what a response from Jeff Collins' unit. No clue, though, if that was a one-off or if they have found some things that can make this a new normal for the rest of the season. Whether it's, man, we've got Kamen Rucker fully back and we're ready to go. One thing to watch was Marcus Allen having to be out. Do you get him back? Or with him being out, maybe Carolina found something else with some other guys. Huzzy had to step up into kind of a different role. So there's just a lot to process with that. But my goodness, that was fantastic. And on the other side of the ball, the offense took some strides too. I was worried about it with no Bryson Nesbitt in the lineup. But man, Omarion was Omarion. You can just take that to the bank, game in and game out. And good grief. Bullet Goss is awesome. He's just got that strength. He's going to be. I'm excited because Omarion's going to be off next year. Let's just assume that. And Goss is going to be the dude, and he's going to be a dude. So get ready for that. But I thought Jacoby Criswell was strong. He made some wise choices of when to get out of the pocket. Highest completion percentage of the season. It just feels like maybe he's starting to get in a little bit more of a rhythm with his receivers. Was so proud of J.J. Jones for stepping up. Had a phenomenal touchdown catch right before halftime. More of that, please. And I want to say a big thanks again to Virginia, right? We talked about on Saturday, we talked about Virginia's helmet stickers. We talked about the video board and showing Tylee Craft and honoring him in that way. But since then, we've also learned about the Virginia players writing cards to Carolina players, just sending thoughts and prayers to. That's humanity being human. That's us loving each other beyond, the trenches, beyond everything that happens there. And part of it is remember, Virginia is a program that has been through this almost multiplied, right? Like with 3 players dying. That's a program that went through something themselves, and they recognize another program going through the same thing. It's a moment where your empathy doesn't have to be born out of just like, oh, I'm a human, so I can empathize with what you're going through. It's a moment where for Virginia, even for those players that weren't there when when those unfortunate deaths happened, it's an empathy born out of experience. And when you go through something, it in a obviously more real way, and then you can really understand what another person is going through and reach out to them in a more specific and intentional way. And for Virginia to do that is phenomenal. And what's cool now is that Tar Heel players and coaches have seen that, and as they go throughout their lives, they can spread that. And then others, it's just well done, Virginia, and thank you, man. And now we turn our attention to Florida State week, and a reminder that this is Mac Brown's alma mater, and a reminder that you will hear 8 gajillion times this week, probably even out of my mouth, is that Mac Brown has never beaten his alma mater, 0-8 all time. This is the moment to fix that. Carolina opens as a favorite at FanDuel, -2.5 against Florida State. Who would have thunk that coming into the season? Like, if I had told you, hey, Carolina's favorite at Florida State, I would have guessed like, whoo, the Tar Heels must be going crazy. They must be 8-0 headed to Tallahassee, and they look like gangbusters. Well, the truth is Carolina's 4-4 overall and 1-3 in ACC play. It's just that Florida State is absolutely abysmal. And now Carolina's got to go take care of that. We'll talk about it later on in the week. And it's weird, by the way, to think of how this year started and then the 4-game losing streak. But now Carolina's put themselves, just by winning this Virginia game, in a position, if they win out the regular season, go 4-0, making them 8-4, that matches their number of wins from last year. They finished 8-5 after the bowl game. If they win out plus win a bowl game, that matches the number of wins from 2 years ago. And so it's just weird to think that if Carolina can legit put this all together and win at Florida State, beat Wake at home, win at BC, and beat NC State at home, they'll get 8 wins. There's a lot to be salvaged for this team, but you got to do it one step at a time. All right, weekend whip around. Let's get into it because, man, Carolina athletics is awesome. Field hockey had a massive weekend ahead of them, hosting number 4 Virginia on Friday and number 9 Boston College on Sunday. And I don't need to tell you, because you know it, because of how insanely good this team is, that they just dominated. both games. They are now 14-0 overall, 7-0 in the ACC. Beat Virginia, number 4, on Friday, 4-0. Hat trick for Charlie Bruder. The other goal, of course, as you would guess, came from Riley Heck. And again, on Sunday, the exact same score against number 9 BC, 4-0. All 4 goals by different ladies. Notably, it was senior night, and I love this. The first goal of the game was courtesy of senior defender Kelly Smith. It's notable because that was Kelly's first career goal, just her 3rd career shot on goal, and it came in her 72nd career game. Man, that's cool stuff. I'm so happy for it. I've been talking quite a bit this season about the wild stats of field hockey. They've played 14 games. That's now 9 shutouts. Most teams would be happy just to have a 9-5 record. Carolina has shut out 9 of their opponents. It's just absurd. And on the season, Carolina is now outscoring their opponents 56-5. That's an average score per game of Carolina scoring 4 goals and their opponent scoring 0.36 goals a game. That's what's happening. Regular season finale, though, comes up this week, Friday at Duke. Anything can happen in a rivalry matchup. Go take care of business. Finish off this regular season undefeated. Man, way to go. Love to see what Erin Matson continues to do. Could you imagine if she wins back-to-back national championships in her first 2 years? It's just silly. On to soccer. The men's soccer team, ranked 11th, went out to Stanford on Sunday. Stanford's number 7 in the nation. Beat them 2-1. In fact, Stanford didn't score until the last couple minutes of the game. Same thing, last regular season game for the men is Friday. They're hosting Boston College. Right now, 9-2-4 overall, 4-2-1 in the ACC. Women's soccer, unfortunately, on Friday, lost at number 17 Florida State. That's a tough environment to go down to Tallahassee and do that. And so, just a tough one for the ladies there. They're still 14-3 overall, 7-2 in the ACC play. Same thing for these ladies. Just one more regular season match on Thanksgiving. That's still a month away. On Halloween, this Thursday, hosting number 1 Duke. Massive matchup. So make sure you go support that. Volleyball, woo! These ladies host Florida State on Friday, host Miami on Sunday. Florida State 19th in the nation. Carolina wins both of these matchups, 3-2 in both of them. They're now 17-2 on the season, 9-1 in ACC play, tied with Pitt and Louisville atop the ACC standings. Stanford is 1 game back. Those 3 other schools, Pitt, Louisville, Stanford, they are currently ranked 1, 4, and 5 in the nation, and Carolina is yet to play that. Unfortunately, Pitt and Louisville are both on the road, hosting Stanford later in November. Buckle up. Going to be a crazy end to the volleyball season. So that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me coming out of the weekend. What a great season it is in Carolina athletics, where basketball is about to kick off fully. Football's still going. The fall sports are going. We're about to get other winter sports going. Man, it's a great time where it all overlaps. You guys, if you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, make sure you do so you don't miss out on a second of Locked On Tar Heels. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to have you. Links in the show notes, and it's absolutely free to join. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. If you want to go deeper with Locked On Tar Heels, become a Locked On Tar Heels insider. That link is in the show notes as well. You get direct access to chat with me and access to all of my data all season long. I'll be updating it literally after every game of the basketball season, so you don't want to miss out on that. 2 free week trial, and then just $5 a month following that. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We're going to talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.